Disk defragmentation. Disk defragmentation is a system utility for analyzing the local volumes. An area of storage on an hard disk, a volume was formatting by using a file system such as FAT and NFDS and has a drive letter assigned to it. You can view the content of a volume by clicking its icon in Window Explorer or in My Computer. A single hard disk can be multiple volume and the volumes can also be scanned multiple disks and locating and consolidating the fragmented files and folders. You can also defragment. Defragmentation is a process of rewriting the parts of a file to the continuous sectors on a hard disk to increase the speed of an access and retrieval. When the files are updated, the computer tends to save these updates on the largest continuous space on the hard disk, which is often on the different sector than the other parts of a life. When files are thus fragmented, the computer must search the hard disk each time the file is opened to find all the files part, which slows down the response time. Disk from a command line using the defrag commands. The best practices for the fragmentation of volume are endured below. Analyzing before the defragmentation. Analyze the volume before the defragmenting them. After analyzing a volume, a dialog box tells you the percentage of an fragmented files and the folders on the volume and recommended whether to deformat the volume. Analyze the volume regularly and deformat them only when the disk deformator recommended it. A good guideline is to analyze the volume at least once a week. If you seldom need to deformat the volumes, analyze the volume monthly instead of weekly. Analyze after a large number of files are added. Volume might become excessively fragmented when users add a large number of files or the folders. So be sure to analyze the volumes after this happens. Generally, volumes on the busy files serves should be deformatted more often than those of an single user workstation. Ensure that your disk has at least 15% of free space. A volume must have at least a 15% free space for a disk defragmenter to completely and aquatically deformat it. Disk deformator uses this space as a sorting area for the file fragments. If a volume has less than the 50% free space, disk deformator will only partially deformat it. To increase the free space on a volume, delete unneeded files or move them to any other disk. Defragmentation during the low usage periods. Defragment file serves the volume during the low volume usage periods to minimize the effect that the defragmentation process has on file server performances. The time that the disk deformator takes to deformat a volume depends on the several factors, including the size of the volume, the number of the files on the volume, the number of fragmented files, and available system resources. Defragmenting after installing software or installing Windows. Defragmented volumes after installing software or after performing an upgrade or clean install of Windows. Volumes often become fragmented after installing software. So running the disk defragmenter helps to ensure the best system performances. Defrag. At times it might be difficult to even select the drive to be defragmented. Hence the use of a commanded line locats and the consolidate fragmented boot files, data files and folders on the local volume. Syntax. Defrag volume slash A, defrag volume slash A slash V, defrag volume V, defrag volume F. Parameters and definitions. Volume. The drive letters or a mount point of the volume to be defragmented. Slash A. Analyze the volume and display a summary of the analysis report. Slash V. Display the complete analysis and the defragmentation report. When uses in the combination with slash A, displays only the analysis report. When uses alone, display both the analysis and the defragmentation report. Slash F. Forces defragmentation of the volume regardless of whether it needs to be defragmented. Slash question mark. Display helps at the command prompt. Remarks. A volume must have at least 15% free space for defrag to completely and aquatically defragment it. Defrag the uses this space as a sorting area for the file fragments. If a volume has less than 15% of a free space, defrag will only partially defragment it. To increase the free space on a volume, delete unneeded files or move them to the another disk. You cannot defragment volumes that the file system has marked as strictly dirty when indicates possible correction. You must run the chkdsk on dirty volume before you can defragment it. You can determine if a volume is dirty by using the fsutil dirty query command. While defrag is analyzing and defragmenting a volume, it displays a blinking cursor. When defrag has finished analyzing and defragmenting the volume, it displays the analysis report. The defragmentation report or both report and then exist to command the prompt. By default, defrag display a summary of both the analysis and the defragmentation reports if you do not specify the /a or /v parameters. You can send the reports to the text file by texting file name text where the file text is file name. You specify, for example, defrag volume /v greater than file name dot text. To interact with the defragmentation process at the command line, press Ctrl+C. Running the defrag command and the disk defragmenter are mutually exclusive. If you are using a disk defragmenter to defragment a volume, and you can run the defragment command at a command line, the defrag command fails. Conversely, if you run the defrag commands and open the disk defragment, the defragmentation options in the disk defragmenter are unavailable. Formatting legend. Italic, meaning information that the user must supply. Bold, meaning elements that the user must type exactly as shown. Ellipse, meaning elements that the user must type exactly as shown. Parameters that can be repeated several times in a command line. Between brackets, meaning optional items. Between braces or choices separated by the pipes, example even, pipe, odd. Meaning set of choices from which the user must choose only one. Courier font, meaning code or the program output. Checking errors on the hard drive. This is done to rectify the bad sector. To do this, right-click on the drive properties, tool tab, error checking sector, check now, automatically fix file system error, or scan for an attempt recovery or the bad sector, then start. Corrective maintenance. Corrective maintenance consists of the action is taken to restore a failed system to an operational state. This usually involves replacing or repairing the components that is responsible for the failure of the overall system. Corrective maintenance is performed at unpredictable intervals, becomes a concept, failure time is not known at prior. The objective of the corrective maintenance is to restore the system to satisfactory operation within the shortest possible time. Corrective maintenance is typically carried out in three steps. First, diagnosis the problem. The maintenance technician must take a time to locate the failed parts or otherwise satisfactory access the causes of the system failure. Second, repair and or replacement of faulty components. Once the cause of a system failure has been determined, action must be taken to address the cause, usually be replaced or repairing the concepts that caused the system to fail. Third, verification of the repair action. Once the components in the questions have been repaired or replaced, the maintenance technician must verify that the system is again successful operating. System diagnosis. The diagnosis practices is usually called troubleshooting. Much of the troubleshooting guide the treated here caters for users of the Windows operating system. Always keep detailed record of all the errors and steps taken to correct these errors. Error numbers and the codes are important to log. They tell the techniques and the network administrator specific information about the problems you are having. To document the errors, press the details button or display. Write down the first couple of the lines of information given in the error system. Check all the cable first. The most frequent problem with the computer is a loose or disconnected cable. Don't be afraid to make a mistake. Don't let the machine intimidate you. Before calling an expert for the technical support, always shut your system down totally and reboot. Wait until the CPU is not making any sound and then turn it on again by pressing the power button. The first one is booting problem. When you press the power button, you give the instruction to the electricity to wake up the computer. This instruction causes the computer to start giving its own instruction to the internal parts. One of the instruction is called as BIOS. The BIOS instruction start checking everybody asking, are you okay? Are you okay? What about you? If a certain part that important doesn't respond, for example, if a certain important object such as the keyboard or a mouse is not connected, which means it will not respond, the BIOS asked, are you okay? Then the BIOS may interrupt everything or it may continue checking. If the BIOS come to a conclusion that this computer is not worth using, it would display an error or may not let you to do anything significant. If the BIOS thinks that everything is alright and that the computer can be used, then it gets the hardware parts ready. Yay, I am receiving an error that says invalid system disk. Replace and press any key when ready. This error is caused by the presence of a floppy disk in the floppy drive while the computer is booting up. Whenever you turn your computer on, remember to eject all disk from the floppy drive unless a bootable floppy disk. If you get this error, eject the floppy disk and hit enter. Your computer should continue to boot as normal. Second, receiving a keyboard related error. This error occurs when the keyboard has become unattached from the rear of the computer. Check behind the computer to see if your keyboard is still firmly attached to the computer. Also check to see that if something has been pressing on top of the keyboard during the booting, remove all the items that are pressing the keys and replug like the keyboards into the computer. Restart your system. See, I am receiving a no signal error or there are no visuals on my monitor. A no signal error means that the monitor is not receiving a signal from the computer. Check to see if the computer is on running. Then check the connection cord between the computer and the monitor. If everything is connected, turn on and running. Then there might be an internal error causing this error to occur. Contact the technician for the assistance. D. Scan the disk appears on a blue screen. Starting that the window was not properly shut down, ScanDisk is utility that the windows run automatically when it thinks that there might be a problem with your system. This does not mean that there is a problem, but the window will automatically take this step to ensure that the complete problem is rectified. Let the scan disk and wait, run and wait to see if your machine will boot properly after the scan disk is complete. If it does not, turn the computer off and reboot to see if the problem clears of its own. If rebooting the computer does not solve the problem, contact your technician. Safe mode problems. If your computer boots to your screen, giving you a choice to boot into a safer mode or it automatically boot into safe mode. Windows has run into an error that it cannot bypass to run smoothly. It in most cases you can reboot and the problem will resolve itself automatically. If you continue to get the safe mode screen or it goes away and comes back frequently, then contact your technician. The system is on but it is not responding. My system is locked and nothing I pressed or click is working. What now? Sometimes your computer will stop responding or freeze, either during operation or after, unused for a period of time. If the computer has not been used recently, press a few keys and wait for several minutes. If the computer freezes during the operation, stop using the keyboard and the mouse for several minutes. If you continue to use the computer when it is frozen, it will prolong your waiting period. If after waiting for the several minutes, you cannot get your computer to respond by using the keyboard or the mouse, turn the computer off by pressing the power button on the front of the machine. Let the computer shut down. The CPU is no longer making any sound and then reboot. If you still got no response from the machine, your mouse and the keyboard may have become dislodged from the rear of the machine. Check those connections and reboot again. The computer freezes again after plugging the mouse and the keyboard into the back of the computer and rebooting. Contact your technician. 4. Rebooting problem. A window won't shut down. It says that the please wait screen or won't power shut down. This is a problem with the way computer or a window is taking to your computer. The computer wants to suspend actively, but the window is telling it to shut down. This is causing a confusion for the computer. In some cases, this can be solved with a patch from the Microsoft website. A patch is an update to a software product that fixes a known problem. You can get this update by downloading it from www.microsoft.com. Windows 98 generally has a problem with shutting down, especially when the computer is attached to a network. Generally, this doesn't hurt anything. It is just a bit of an nuisance. C. Booting problem on what to do during an subsequent reboot. A window pops up with an end task, shutdown and a cancel button. What do I do? This message usually appears when you press and hold the Control, Alt and Delete. While running an application or the program, these keystrokes tell the computer to shut itself down. Despite the fact that applications are running, if you would like to turn off the computer without manually closing or saving anything, click Shutdown button. If you would like to close just the program you are running currently, ensure that the correction program is highlighted in the box and click End Task. If this window was opened accidentally, click Cancel and you will return to the program you were just using. An internal error on the kernel 32. Error box appears suggesting that I restart Windows. This error has occurred because Windows have came across an error that it cannot continue with. If sometimes like this happens, and you are in the middle of your work, try to save your work before you click OK. If your work causes the error to occur, everything after the last time you saved your work will be lost. Restart your computer. Remember to always document the error thoroughly. Misbehaving the software often causes these errors. If the error occurs repeatedly, call for the assistance from your technicians. Monitor problems. My monitor has no display. The monitor turns off for no reasons, or my display is faded. Ensure that the monitor and the computer are turned on. Next, check both the power cord to the monitor and the power cord to the computer. If you are using a power strip, ensure that it is turned on. You can also check the settings on your monitor. The buttons are located on the lower front of the monitor. Check the contrast and the tint to see if you are set correctly. Next, check the connection between the monitor and the computer and the rear of the computer. This is a cord that connects the monitor to the computer. The next thing to check is your screen saver setting. Right click on your desktop properties, or you can click Start Settings, then Control Panel, then the Display. Display Settings dialog box will appear. Screensaver tab. Make sure your screensaver is set to go off in a reasonable amount of time, that is usually 10 minutes or more. Also make sure says that energy saving settings are marked correctly. You can locate the energy saving setting button in the screensaver box. Settings are marked correctly. You can locate the energy saving setting button in the server saver box near the button. When you click on the settings, you will be able to adjust the amount of a time that your computer wait to turn off the monitor if the computer is not in use. If you don't ever want the monitor to be shut down by the energy saver mode, choose never. If all these things don't fix the problem, contact the technician. Monitor flashes on and off. Usually this is caused by a loose or a bad connections at the back of your computer. You should be able to retighten the connection and continue as normal. If that it is not the problem, that is need to be diagnosed by a professional. Seventh, the mouse problem. A mouse isn't sticky and or the cursor won't move. Check to see that if your mouse cord is plugged too tightly. If your cord doesn't have the enough room to maneuver, then you will have to lose the control over it. Next, check the mouse connection to the back of the CPU and ensure that it is plugged in. If neither of these possibilities were the problem, you may need to clean the ball on the inside of the mouse. You can flip over the mouse and take the ball out by twisting the round disc that holds it a place. Turn the round pieces in the direction of the arrow. Once you have taken out the ball, clean the ball off with clean, dry and lint-free cloth. Never use the water on any computer parts. Put the mouse back together again. If that doesn't felt problem, it might be time to replace the mouse. My mouse won't right click or won't double click. Press Ctrl Alt Escape and use the arrow keys up to get the shutdown and then choose the reboot. This should fix the problem. If not, a technician should look at a machine. Keyboard problem. I am receiving a keyboard error when boosting my computer. This is usually caused by a key being pushed down while the computer starts. Make sure nothing is on the top of the keyboard during the boot time. Also, this could be caused by the keyboard becoming disconnected from the back of the computer. If neither of these are the problem, contact your technician. My keyboard won't respond at all. If your keyboard had frozen and the keyboard will not respond at all, the first thing to do is to check the keyboard connection to the computer and restart the computer. If your keyboard still does not respond, you may need the technician assistance. Printer problem. Printer won't print my document. Check the printer to make sure that it is plugged in and turned on. Click Start Setting Printers. If the printer you want to use is not listed, you will have to install the printer. You can do it by clicking Add the printer and following the installation process through to the completion. If the printer appears light or grey out, your printer is offline. Double click on the printer in the question, then click Printer and uncheck Pause Printing and use the printer offline, or right click the printer and select Online. Next, make sure that you have chosen the correct printer. You can check this by going back into the file you were trying to print and click on the file Print. The name of a printer will appear near the top of the window next to the name. If the correct printer does not appear in the box, click on the down arrow to the right of the name of a printer being used. Find your printer name and highlight it by clicking the left mouse button on it. Once you have ensured that the correct printer is chosen and that printer is not offline or paused, ensure that you are logged on to the network. To do this, click Start and look to see if your log name is listed after log off. If your log name is not there, you need to log back on to the network. To start this process, ensure that you have saved your work. Then click Start a log off. This will bring up a dialog box. Click Yes. You will be prompted to enter your name and password to log back on to the network. Once you finish the click OK or Enter, open your file again and try to print it out. If you still cannot print, please call a technician. Documents once out, faded or stripped. This is usually due to the dirty or the clogged print heads or the printer being out of ink. Try running a print head cleaning utility to clean the head. Most printers come with it to help with the dirty or the clogged head. Do this by going to the Start Setting Printer and then right clicking on the printer in the question. Try cleaning the heads and then print a page. If you still get the fades or stripes, try it once more. If after 2 minutes your pages are still coming faded or stripped, then you may need to replace the ink. If however the ink is not an issue, you should contact a professional. I am receiving an out of memory error or a spooter error. This is caused when the machine that the printer is not connected to run out of memory or has an internal error. This usually happens because of a large print job. If you get this error frequently, you must want to consider upgrading the memory on the computer with the printer attached to it. If it cannot also be caused by the lack of an free disk space. Check to see that if you have enough free space. To do this, double click on My Computers and right click Save Drive Properties. The free space should be listed on that screen. If you only have a couple of megabytes or less, that could be your problem. You will need to either clean up your drive or replace it with a bigger drive. Call a technician to help with either of these processes. If you have an adequate disk space, try uninstalling and then reinstalling the printer. To do this, click Start, then Settings, then Printer, then right click on the printer in the question and select the Delete. You want to remove it completely from the system. Then click Add Printer and reinstall the same printer. If it was used across a network, make sure you re-establish the share with the same name. This can be done by the right clicking on the printer and choosing Share this printer. CD-ROM issue. I have no audio on or any my CD players won't come on when playing an audio series. First check to see that if your speaker or turn on the volume level are adequate. At the taskbar tray, it is a little speaker. Double click it, get it properties, make sure the volume levels are turned up and then none of the controls are muted. Next, look at the back of the computer where the speaker is plugged in. If there is a volume control there, make sure it is turned up. Then check to see that if the speakers are plugged, if the correct jacks for the audio out. There are usually 3 jacks on the back of a sound card, plug and appropriate. Next, we want to open the CD player application by clicking Start Program, Accessories, then Entertainment, then the CD player. If the application will not open, you will need to reinstall the CD player applications of the Windows CD. You can do by going to the Start, then Setting, then Control Panel, then Add Remove Program, or then Windows Setup, then Multimedia and Details. You should see the CD player, check if it is not, check it and click OK and then Apply. Uncheck it and click OK, then click Apply but don't shut the panel. When we need to go back to the multimedia and recheck the CD player, click OK and then click Apply again. If this was not the issue, contact your technician. I am receiving a CD-ROM is not accessible error. Check to see that if you have placed the CD you want to read in the CD-ROM drive. Pick up the CD and check to see that if it is dirty or scratched. If your CD is clean and fully inserted in the drive, try to read from the drive again. You can also insert another CDs into the drive and try to read the new CDs. Some burnt CDs cannot be read by the certain CD-ROM drivers. If your issue got unresolved, call a professional for the assistance. Inspections. Inspections are used in order to uncover the hidden failure, also called the dormant failures. In general, no maintenance action is performed on the computer's components during an inspection unless the components is found failed, in which a case a corrective maintenance action is initiated. However, they might be the cases where a particular restoration of the inspected items would be performed during an inspection. For example, when checking the motor oil in a car, between the scheduled oil changes, one might occasionally add some oils in order to keep it at a constant level. About the backups. A backup is a copy of your file made in a case you lose or damage the original. For those using the official systems in offices or at the homes, it will be necessary to follow a strict backup regime using the floppy disk or the zip disk, flash drivers and other secondary memory devices. A zip disk is like a floppy disk except that it holds 70 times as much as information. Obviously useful for the graphics and the multimedia projects. A flash driver can hold the larger information than a zip drive. Be disciplined. It requires a discipline from the user for the backup files and saves as an options to eradicate the information. Make backups at the ends of every day and every week, depending on how much work you do and how important the data is. To make backups on individual files, copy them to the disk using Explorer or My Computer. Note that you can also apply or copy the entire folder with this method. Alternatively, open the file and use the save as an option in the application. Perhaps the most convenient method is to make a copy of a zip or a floppy disk using the copy disk. Don't work directly with the backup files, that is zip or a floppy disk. You work on the hard disk and thereafter copy to the floppy or the disk. We cannot stress enough just how important is to make a backup. Horror stories excite when the people loses the months or years of the work. Unfortunately, even people who know they should make a backups tends not to bother until they have been stung. So follow the devices in this book and be an exception to this tendency. The computer interfaces uses as a desktop made of fur. The desktop is colored backgrounds you see on the screen when you start your computer. This may vary for the different computer since it's customizable. It is the place where you manipulate the work you are doing by handling the icons. A little picture that represents your files or folders and the disk. It summarizes the system properties by enabling you to have an access to all these properties. It serves as an intermediary between the system and the user. The desktop elements include the icons, the taskbar, that is, the start menu, taskbar, and the system tray, wallpaper, and screensaver. The icons are the images, pictures, symbols, or logos that represents the items on the desktop. For instance, the desktop above has 30 icons. An icon may represent an application, a file, a folder, a shortcut, or even a location on the hard drive. The taskbar is the original, by default, bar placed separately on the desktop but will never appear on the screensaver. The wallpaper represents the pictures used on the desktop images. It is a placeholder for the icons, that is, the icons are placed on it. The screensavers is the animated pictures shows instead of the wallpaper when the system is idle for some time work. It differs from the wallpaper in that it can't harbor the icons. There are two entitles the mainly needed to interact with the icons. As a person using the computer, icons allows to familiarize with the various programs that are installed in a computer. Even application or every category of the applications has its own icon. This is easily possible because every person who creates an application has the possibility of providing a special icon for that particular applications. The operation systems also have an interior mechanism to identify an icon or a type of an icon and associate with a particular application of a series of application of the same type. Microsoft Windows ships with various icons for its own use. Say for an example, every version of the Microsoft Windows ship with a special icon for my computer program. There is also a special icon for the recycle bin, etc. The sizes of the icon are standardized and they should not have just any random dimension. For example, the icons on the desktop are 32 into 32 pixels. Sometimes the icon displays in a 16 into 16 dimensions. You can customize your desktop's elements using the display properties dialog box which can be accessed by either right-clicking the desktop, properties, then start, then control panel, then double-click on the display. This window will enable you to change the appearance of your desktop, such as the background, that is a wallpaper, screensaver, color, font sizes, and the screen resolutions. Uses the various tabs to change the various properties. You can also right-click any sections of the taskbar and select the properties to customize it. This will display the taskbar and start menu properties window where you can select the tab you need a case maybe. To customize the system tray sections, click the customize buttons on the taskbar of the window. Working with the windows. Working with the windows gives you the ability to look at something. It allows you to look into a document or a folder or a disk. When you bring using your PC, you will be confronted with the desktop, which is simply the terms used for the space on the screen. When you want to run on a particular applications, you need to load the package launch. To do this depends on the location of the package. A desktop. Click its icon or press enter. Double click the icon. Right click the open. Then start menu. Start all program, navigate to where it resides, select the applications. Quick launch. This is just beside the start button for an easy launch. Click on the icon once. Then taskbar the tray. This is a right on the taskbar. Double click on the icons. Note that for all the methods, you double click twice to launch any application. This is also true for any icons, files, folders, or the executables. Computer training. For any method you use, you have performed some actions. Each action is stored in a particular program and kept under a button or a menu. A program menu is simply referred to as a menu in a series of words usually aligned on a vertical column. Each line of the words indicates a particular action. For any window you open, what it is common to all the packages is the title bar. There are different types of a window we will encounter when working with the computer. Some of them includes a dialog box, a single document interface, that is SDI, a multiple document interface is MDI. Dialog box. A dialog box is a square or a rectangular window whose main store is to carry or hold or host the other windows. The object it carries defines its roles and name. A dialog box is made of two main sections. On the top of it is a title, a display, a title bar, with the little and the system close button. By convention, a dialog box cannot be minimized or maximized. Therefore, it doesn't have those system buttons. Sometimes a dialog box will have a button with a question mark, the help button. A dialog box equipped with a help button indicates that you can get a quick help on the items displayed on the dialog box. The second section of the dialog box is its body. That is, the programmer call it as a client area. This is the area where the object the dialog box is hosting or poisoning. Example includes the save as dialog box and the open dialog box is the most applications. The single document interface, that is SDI. This is a window that allows a user to work on only one open document at a time. It is similar to a typical window. An example is the word pad. The multiple document interface, that is MDI. This is similar to SDI except that you can work on more than one document at a time. An example is the Microsoft Word. The Windows control. The controls of a window refer to an object that are available on the window. There are various controls to include the command buttons, text boxes, list boxes, optional radio buttons, check boxes, combo boxes, scroll bars, program bars, etc. For all the objects that may be present on a window, only one of them can review focus at a time. The focus is visual except that indicates that a control is ready to receive input from you. Various controls have a various different ways of expressing that they will receive the focus. Button-based control indicates that they are focused by drawing a dotted rectangular around their text. In the following picture, the button on the right has focus. A text-based control indicates that it has a focus by displaying a blinking cursor. A list bar control indicates that it has a focus which one of its items has surrounded, dotting the rectangular. To give the focus to a control, you can click it. Alternatively, if the focus is ready on one of the controls, to give the focus to the particular control. You can press the tab continuously until the control shows that it has a focus. On a browser, if you press the tab continuously, the focus would come from one link to or control to the another. This means that a link on a web page can review the focus as it is where a control. Main menu display. We have just seen that when you know where a menu is available to access it, you can just click or right click the item that holds the menu. How a menu appears can be influenced by the available room. The operating system decides on the availability of the room to display the menu. If a menu is accessed from the middle to the top section of the window, the operating system would display it under the item that was clicked. If the menu is being accepted from the bottom section of the screen, the operation system would calculate the available room under the item that was clicked. If there is enough room, the menu will be displayed under the item that was clicked. If there is not enough room, then the operating system would decide to display the menu above the item that was clicked. Categories of menus. To diversify the actions that can be performed on a computer. There are 6 main categories of the menu, each of which depends on the person who created the menu. First, stand-alone items. The simplest menu, its item, displayed a word or a group of a word on its line. To use this menu type, you can simply click it. What happens depends on the program and the familiarity with it. Example, it is a refresh menu on the most browsers. Second, disabled menu items. If a menu appears gray, it means that the menu is not available at this time. Such a menu is said to be disabled. Clicking a disabled menu would not do anything at all. Most of the time, such a menu would require a pre-requirements actions in order to become available or enabled. C. The Eclipse menus. A menu with the 3 periods indicate that an intermediary action is required. To use such as menu, click it. Once clicked, sometimes another window will be displayed. Example is a save as, the option of the file menu in the sub windows. D. The check menus. A menu that appears with the check mark is used as an witness of an window object being available or not. This means that when the check mark is set, the object, the menu items refers to be visible. If you click such a menu item, the check mark disappears along with the item it refers to. The menu item is still visible. Only its check mark and the items it refers to disappear. E. The radio menus. Some menus items appears in a group or a 2 or more than, usually more than 7. The group is delimited by a horizontal line above the top menu items and another horizontal line below the bottom objects. At a time, one of a menu items has a big round dot on its left side. This dot is called as radio button. The item that is currently active has a radio button and the other menu items don't. If you click on an item others than one with a radio button, the dot moves to the items you click and the previous item loses the radio button. This type of menu is used when the programmer wants only one item of a group to indicate which the items of an category is active. Arrow menus. When a menu appears with an arrow, this means that the menu items hold its own list, called as sub-menu. Again, this design depends on the person who created the menu and it is not subject to any preconceived rule. To access the menu items, simply position the mouse cursor on the menu item that has the arrow. How the sub-menu appears may depend on the section of a screen from where the menu is being accessed. The operating system devices decides how to display the sub-menu based on the available room. Main and content sensitive menus. We have seen that a menu on the same object can be different depending on what the items you click to access such a menu. Based on this, A menu that appears when you simply click an object is considered that the regular menu of the object, and it is simply called the menu. Sometimes when you click or even right click an object, a menu might not appear. On the other hand, if a menu appears when you right click an item or an area of a window, this menu is referred to as content sensitive menu. Most application displays the menus in their top section. The main menu, below the title bar, the main menu display columns of menus. Each column is represented by a word. Sometimes it will be more than one word for a menu item. To use this main menu, you can click a word. This causes a list of menu items to display. There is no strict rules or any suggestions on what the items must appear under that word. The person who created an application also decides on the menu column, the items and their roles. After clicking a menu column, if you find the items you are looking for, you can click it. If you don't see the items you are looking for and you want to check another column, you have two options. You can simply move the mouse to another menu of your choice. You can also click the menu items you have opened, then click the new column you desire. If you still don't want you're looking for, you can dismiss the menu. There are various ways you can dismiss the menu if it is opened. If you click an item in the list of an display column, the menu would retract and close itself. If you have opened a menu, don't want to use anymore, you can click one of the menu items on the top. You can also click anywhere other than the open menu. This also closes the menu. To access or close the menu using the keyboard, use Alt plus Access key. Underline the letter on the menu for the menu. Once this is initiated, you just press the Access key for each command under the main menu. To dismiss a display menu, press the Escape key. You can also use the navigational key to move the menu to the menu, that is left and the right arrow, or down a menu using the ups and the down arrows. First, the control system buttons located at the top right corner of a window. Minimize the button. Click this to reduce the program to a button on the taskbar. Restore or maximize the button. This switches the window side between the full screen size, docked window and half window, or customized size, floating or beside the window. You can also double click the empty space for the title bar to toggle between the options. Close buttons. Click this to dispense with the window until the next time you open the program. If the file inside the video has not been saved, it will promote you to save it. You can also access any of the actions by clicking the application logo or right-clicking the empty space of the title bar and then select the actions you want. Moving windows. If a window gets in the way of what you are doing, you can move it to a different place on the screen by clicking and holding the title bar using the left mouse button. Only possible for floating the window. You can imagine a window shape or a size so that you can see more of its content, or so that you can arrange a window side by side manually. This is possible when the window is restored down. Place the mouse over the edges of a window so that the mouse pointer changes the shape to a double-pronged arrow. Either sides of an edge, drag inwards or outwards to reduce or enlarge the window. Default restored. Splitting window. This is actually done when you want to compare the different places of a particular document. For instance, view the page 50 and 350 of a particular document at the same time. To do this, select the window, split the cursor, will change us to an horizontal line which you can click at the desired location. You can work on each of them as it if you are dealing with a single window. To remove the window, remove split. Arranging the window. For a particular document, more than one window can be opened simultaneously. To do this, select the window, then the new window. The new window will change the name of the document by adding the index. The name will be the file name, index number, example, Adibasis 1, while the second name will be Adibasis 2. You can add as many as you want. You can now arrange the window using the window. Arrange all. This will arrange the windows horizontally. To change the arrangement by side, select the window, then compare side by side. To change to the horizontal, select window and closed side by side. Note that these two procedures may seem similar in that both are used for comparing a document in different windows. Thus, the major differences are: first, splitting the windows does not use the name index. Both bear the same name. Second, splitting the windows has only one title bar and the toolbar, while each windows in new window has its own title bar and toolbar. Third, splitting windows can only be reviewed horizontally, whereas the new windows can be viewed in 2 days, either the horizontal or vertical. To arrange windows of a different document, right-click on the taskbar. Choose either the Cascade windows, all windows restored, tile window horizontal, tile window vertical, or show the desktop, all windows minimized. The taskbar. The taskbar appears at the bottom of a screen and displays all the programs that are currently open. When you minimize a window, it will still appear at the bottom of the taskbar. Click the program button on the taskbar to restore it into a window. By selecting the different program buttons on the taskbar, you can switch easily between the currently open program or press Alt Tab key plus Enter. The status bar. The status bar, which is in the horizontal area on the bottom of the document window. Example in the Microsoft Word, which provides an information about the current status of what you are viewing in the window and any other contextual informations. To display the status bar, click the tool, then option, then view bar, then select the status bar, check the box under show. The elements on the status bar for the above windows includes the followings. First, the page number shows the page number. Second, the second number shows the section numbers of the pages shown in the window. Third, numbers or number shows the page number and the total number of pages based on the physical page count in the document. Fourth, at measurements show the distance from the top of the pages to your insertion point. No measurement is displayed if the insertion point is not in the window. Fifth, LN number shows that the line of text where the insertion point is located. No measurement is displayed if the insertion point is not into the window. Sixth, col number shows that the distance is in the number of a character from the left margin to the insertion point. No measurement is displayed if the insertion point is not available in the window. Seventh, rec shows the macro recorder status. Double-click the rec to turn the macro recorder on or off. When the recorder is off, recorder appears diminished. Point number 8. TRK shows the track changes status. Double-click the TRK to turn the track changer features on or off. When changes are not being tracked, TRK appear diminished. Number 9. Exist shows the extended system selection mode status. Double-click the EXT to turn the mode on or off. When the selection mode is off, EXT appears diminished. 10th, OVR shows the overtype mode status. Double-click OVR to turn the mode on or off. When overtype mode is off, OVR appears diminished. 11th, spelling and grammar. Shows a spelling and grammar check status. When a word is in the process of checking for an error, an animated pen appears over the paper. If no error was found, a check mark appears. If an error is found, an X appears. To resolve the error, double-click this icon. Number 12. Background save. When a falsetting, this icon appears. Word is saving your document in the background as you work. Point number 13. Background print. When a printer icon appears, Word is printing your document in the background as you work. A number next to the printer icon shows the current page number being printed. To cancel the print job, double-click the printer icon. Note that the status bar are grouped into the session. Page 1, 2 and 3. Measurement 4, 5, 6. While others shows the current status of the commands. Thank you.